In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to do a quick page. Just to tell you what a quick page is, it's a layout that you can purchase from our store that is already complete. So the design work is all done. All of the elements are there and designed. So this is a good way to get a bunch of scrapbooking done all at once, or it's if you're not comfortable doing all the design work as far as layouts go, this is a really good way to go. So if you look over in the layers, we've got just one layer. So that's just, and then these areas where you can see like the little checkerboard behind, that means that that's a transparent layer. So this is where you would add your pictures. So we're gonna work on this one first. And I've got 3 different quick pages that we're gonna try and work on and show you how to do the different cropping and resizing. So the main tools that we're going to be using in this tutorial is we've got the move tool and the rectangle select tool. So those are the main tools that we'll be using, and pretty basic layout here. So first off, we want to get our pictures that we're wanting to use for this layout. So I'm going to go to my file that has my pictures, and this one has 3 different pictures and they are horizontals. So I'm going to just select 3 pictures that I want to use, and the way I'm selecting all 3 of these pictures at once is I'm holding my control key down and clicking on each picture that I want to pull into this layout. Once I do that, then I hold my left click button down on my mouse, drag them over to my layout without letting go, and then let go. And that will place the 3 different images. Takes just a minute to load. Okay, so we've got our 3, if you look over here at the layers, I've got my 3 images. And what I want to do is I want them to be below my quick page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my quick page layer, and I'm going to drag that above the 3 photos. So that puts it above and my pictures below. And if you'll remember the shortcut to that with the control keys, I will put that back down here just to demonstrate for you. So I select my background, I hold my control button down, and since I want to move this above, I'm going to use my right bracket. So I hold my control down and I click on this right bracket, and it moves 1 layer at a time until it's on top or where I need it to be. So now I'm going to grab my move tool and I'm going to select this first picture, and I want it to be up here in this top empty space. Remember to hold your shift key down as you resize to keep everything in proportion. And you can resize it as small as you want to, as long as it just fits in that area. And if we have any overlapping, I will show you how you can get rid of that. But with this picture, I'm pretty much just gonna resize it down till it fits that area. And I'm okay with that. So I'm gonna either click on this checkbox or I'm gonna hit my enter, and that will say that this is an okay size and do that. Next picture, we're going to put here in the middle. Hold your shift key down again. Go to your corner and resize that. Then I'm just going to move it to see I can leave it like that if I want to, or I can continue to resize it down so that I can see more of this picture. Once I'm okay with the size, you either hit the check mark to confirm that or hit your enter key. And then this last spot, hold your shift key down. So want me to rotate it. Hold your shift key down with your arrow straight. And then drag that to the size. I'm gonna see how I want to do this. I think I'll size it down a little bit more because I want a little bit more of that background in the picture. Get his little hands showing. I'm good with that, so I'm going to confirm that by hitting the checkbox or hitting my enter. And there we have it. We have a completed quick page. Now you can do journaling and add that. We'll be going over adding text in a different tutorial. But as far as a quick page goes, there is our first one. Then you can go ahead and save that if you're happy with it. Remember to save it. Export as a JPEG. If you're going to come back to it and work on it, you'll save it as a PSD file so that all your layers remain separate. So there is that one. We're going to go to, I think we'll do this one first. A little bit more basic, and then we'll work our way up to that other one. Just one little tip. I like to fill my layout into this area as much as possible. So if you hit your control, this is one of those little shortcut tips. It fills in your entire layout screen so that your whole layout is in that area. Okay, so I'm going to go and grab, I've got 3 different spots. So I'm going to go grab 3 different pictures. Go down to my files, and I'm going to use the same pictures for this one just to demonstrate. And while that's loading, it's going to load all 3 of those pictures. And as you can see, again, the pictures are above my background, so I want my background to be on top. And so I can click on that background, drag it with my mouse above my photos, or you can use your control left and right bracket to move it up or down. So we're gonna do this bottom corner spot first. I'm gonna hold my shift key down, drag to resize my picture. Make sure you hold that shift key down so that everything stays in proportion. And I'm happy with how that is filling in that space. So I'm good with that. So you hit enter or your checkbox to okay that move. My next spot, I'm going to do this lower. Hold my shift key down while I resize it from the corner. Place it where I want to. Make sure that it fits in that area and that you don't have any of that background showing, that your picture fills in that entire area. And move it where you'd like it. Good with that. So I'm going to hit enter or that checkbox. And then for my final picture, up in this top right corner, hold my shift key down, resize that. Put my next picture right there. hit my enter button or the checkbox to okay that positioning. And I'm going to zoom in here and show you what we've got to fix. Use my hand tool to move over. Go back to my move tool. Okay, so you can see right in this area how this bottom picture is overlapping that top picture. So we want to get rid of that part. So if I were to move this picture above that picture, then it's going to overlap this picture. So in order to fix that, this is where our rectangle select tool comes into play. We click and draw a rectangle around this area that we want to cut off of this picture. So I've got my rectangle drawn around this area right here that I want to delete. Now, when we go over to this layer of what I want to delete it's got this little box here. And this is one thing, in order for me to be able to delete this, I have to do what is called rasterizing. And to do that, you right click over here in this area and click on rasterize. And that makes that image so that it's not a smart object, and it rasterizes it. Now, if I were to try, I'm going to undo this just to demonstrate. If I were to go here, I have this selected, and if I were to hit the delete button, it's going to say, whoops, that disappeared really quick. So right up here is where we're going to be looking. So I hit delete, and it says smart object must be rasterized first. So if that happens, then you'll remember to go over here, right click, rasterize that smart object. So that little box right here disappears. You know that that has been taken care of. And then you can hit delete, and that deletes that part of that picture that's above there. If I hit Control-0, it minimizes my picture to fill in this area. And I can see that all of my quick page spots have been filled. And then as far as finishing this layout, you can add journaling to these little tags. If you need help with your journaling and filling in these tags, you can watch our tutorial on using the text and fonts. If you want to add a title to this page from the kit, if you want to add that, you can add that to your layout also to complete that one. So that is our second quick page completed. Makes it really quick to not have to do all the design work and add all the different elements. Makes scrapbooking a lot quicker. So this is our final quick page. I'm going to hit the Control-0 to fill in this space. And you can see with this layout, we've got a picture spot here. We've got 1, 2, 3 picture spots here. And this area right here is for a bigger picture. So if you're going to do this and fill this in with a picture, you got to make sure that you're using a large image from your computer and not something that is smaller than this area. If you don't have a picture that's big enough to fill this area, or you don't want to put a full picture here, and we'll go over this as I do this tutorial, you could also put just a piece of paper that coordinates with this kit in that spot, and then only put pictures in these 4 frames. So I know that I need to have 5 different pictures for this layout. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my file where my pictures are, my photos, and I'm going to select 5 pictures. And if you remember, you can hold your Control key down and select the images that you want to use. use some different ones in this one. 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can pull in more than that if you want to, and then always delete them later. And I might have to come back and pick a different picture depending on how my spots work with these pictures. Let those load. That little cute little tongue and dirty face he's got. Okay, so I'm going to move my background, my quick page, up above by dragging it over here in the layers or using my bracket keys. And I'm going to start with this one frame right up here. And I'm going to use, so I want to grab my move tool so that I can move my pictures around and resize them. I'm going to hold my shift key down and resize this picture to where I like it. Resize it just a little bit more. I'm good with that. So I'm going to hit enter or the checkbox for that one. And then I've got this background picture. I think I'm going to turn this one off for a minute, decide which one I want to put. I think I'm going to turn this one off. This just with the eyeball here, you can turn those layers off. Okay, so I think I want to use this picture for this big spot. So I'm going to resize this picture a little bit bigger to fill in this area. Now, when you resize an image, you do not want to resize it too much. Otherwise, your picture is going to be blurry. But where I'm just going to be resizing this small amount, that this picture should work fine. And I will show you how to check that out once I resize this to make sure that it's not blurry. Otherwise, I'll show you a different way to do that. So I'm going to pull from the corner, resize this picture so that fills this area. I'm going to click on my checkbox to confirm that move. And what I like to do to make sure that the picture quality is fine is I like to zoom in so that my rulers up here are about the same size if you were to hold a ruler up to them. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and I feel like the distance between these numbers is actually a little bit bigger than your typical inch. So I know that my quality of my picture is going to be just fine. So to zoom back out, a quick tip is to hit your Control-0 again. Oh, that was the wrong one. Control-0 opens up things. Ignore that. Control-O. Oh, I did it again. Control-0. Sorry. Control-0 fills in your screen. Control-O is the command to open a new file. So don't do that. Okay, so I've got that filled in. And I'm going to select my move tool again, and we're going to fix this picture because you can see right here that it is overlapping. So remember that because it has this little box, it's still a smart object. So when we use the rectangle tool to cut that little piece off, it won't work unless we rasterize this image. So I know that is going to need to be done. So I'm going to click over here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to select rasterize. That makes that little box disappear. Now it makes it so that I can select my rectangle select tool, and I can drag a rectangle around that area that I'm wanting to cut, and then I just hit delete. And then Control D gets rid of those dotted lines if you need to get rid of those. So we've got these first two pictures, and I'm gonna turn this one back on. I believe I'm gonna work on this top little rectangle over here. So I'm gonna hold my Shift key to resize this picture down. Move it over here in this little frame so I know how much resizing I need to do. Remember that you can cut off any excess if you have anything overlapping once you resize. Hit your enter or your checkbox or check mark, sorry. And then I can see right here, if I zoom in, that I'm gonna need to delete this area right here that is overlapping. So I'm gonna select the picture that I'm wanting to cut. I'm gonna need to rasterize it. So I'm gonna click on the layer, right click, click on rasterize. That box goes away. I go over to my rectangle select tool, and I'm gonna draw a rectangle around what I'm wanting to cut. And it's okay if it goes over. It's only gonna cut off what layer you have selected. Hit delete, and that gets rid of that excess part that's hanging below here and here. Okay, hit Control 0, Control D gets rid of that little box. So my next picture that I'm gonna select is this one. I turned it back on, clicking on the eyeball so I can see it. Select it, make sure you've got your select move tool. Go to my corners, hold your Shift key down, resize. And if you accidentally don't hold your Shift key down and it were to distort, you can either hit Control Z to undo, or you can click on this X right here and that also does the undo. So I'm going to resize that to where I want to position it with my move tool. And I'm good with that. So now we've got to get rid of this extra overlapping. So we've got to make sure we rasterize this in order to do that. So we click on the layer that we want to delete from, right click there, click on rasterize, that little box goes away. Go over to our rectangle select tool, and I'm going to cut this little piece off right here, hit delete. And then if I zoom in, I'm going to grab my hand tool so I can move my layout up. You can see I've still got some overlapping here, and then I've got a little bit overlapping here. So I'm going to hit Control D to get rid of those lines. Grab my rectangle select tool again. I need to cut off just this little piece right there. Select that, hit delete, come down here, select that, hit delete. So that area is already, hit Control 0 to fill in your screen. I've still got my little dotted lines here, so I want to deselect those by hitting Control D. Okay, so I've got one more spot that I can put a picture in. And I'm going to look at both these pictures to see which one. Oh, that's my background one, so I can't. So it's just this one. Turn that back on. Turn that one back on. Okay, so I need to move this one up. It's below. Gonna grab my move tool, move this over. Hold my Shift key down to resize where I want this. And if I want it to be zoomed in like that, I can just crop everything else around it. But I'm gonna resize it down a little bit more so I have a little bit more of the background. And you can see here that it's not filling in that space. So before I enter, I need to resize that so that it fills in that entire rectangle that I'm wanting to fill in. Once I'm okay with that, I hit enter or hit the check mark, and then I've got to crop this extra around here. So I can go to my, oops, I gotta go over here first, gotta rasterize this. So I right click on rasterize till that little square goes away. Then I know that I can cut, grab my rectangle select. If you need to zoom in to see that frame a little bit better, you can do that. I'm just gonna delete that. I am gonna zoom in a little bit so I can see what else needs to be cut. Hit Control D to get rid of those dotted lines. I just need to delete this little area right in here. So I grab make sure I've got this selected, this tool, just draw a rectangle just in that area. And if you accidentally make it too big, you can just hit Control D and go back again and get that a little bit better so that it's just in that area, and hit delete. Hit Control D to get rid of those dots. Hit Control 0 to zoom out. And there is our third quick page completed. So when you're all done, if you want to do any journaling, add maybe some dates on here or some journaling here. If you want to add a title, you can go ahead and do that also. But we're going to go ahead and save this. If we're finished with it totally, you'll go in File, Export as a JPEG, and that flattens everything. If you want to come back later and work on it, you'll want to save it as a PSD so that the layers are still available if you need to open it again and work on some more. Just a reminder as you work on layouts to save as you go so that in case your computer crashes or your internet goes down, you don't want to lose all the work that you've been working on. So there you have it. We've got 1, 2, 3 quick pages that are done, and your scrapbooking is a lot quicker to do it this way. If you are interested in doing more quick pages, we have those at our store. It's Scraps and Pieces in our quick page section. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.